This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
Matt in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Hi, I'm actually in JC right now, but it's close to Wegmans, but I can't go there still. So.
Why don't you go? Why don't you just test it? Why don't you just take 2 baby steps in and see how that goes? Make sure you have a video. I think it'd be fun. No, don't. Whatever you do, don't. I strongly urge against it. Anyway, what's on your mind?
Well, they didn't serve me properly. I probably could go legally, but I don't want to cause any trouble. So anyway, I just wanted to weigh in on the convention. What struck me about it is it's amazing the hope and the joy, but it's also amazing the bench the Democrats have right now and how many impressive people that really are many of them came from humble beginnings. And isn't that that's what always confuses me is you got Donald Trump out there, every advisor's telling him to start talking about issues and he can't do it. And all he can do is do the grievance thing because they don't really have any issues. They have nothing to offer the middle class. Every policy they're proposing is going to hurt the middle class. And so, it should be no question. But if we know we have a lot of people that are involved in the cult, let's hope we can get over the cult. But I would agree with Vinny. There's some amazing speakers including Jasmine Crockett was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Raphael Warnock was amazing.
I didn't have a chance to watch, but from every source I've seen, everybody was wowed. I think everybody was wowed with the lineup on the first night.
Hillary, if Hillary had spoken like she did last night,
she would be president. If she spoke that way during her own campaign, she would have blasted her opponent. And I mean that figuratively.
She was so beaten down with all the lies that they taught. Not everything was lie about the Clintons, but a lot of it was lies.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of the stuff, look, they weaponized the FBI.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's a real pity. Real pity that she was treated the way she was. I think over the long haul, people will come to realize that Hillary Clinton was treated poorly both by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and by the American media. DJ in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning. The news showed all the, I don't know how many protesters there were. It looked like could have been tens of thousands marching around.
Yeah, but that's what the news does. The reason the news shows protesters, because that's interesting. It's far more interesting to show protesters than people giving speeches.
Well, they said that the Democrats were against walls and police, and when all the protesters were walking around saying, Killer Kamala, what did you see? A giant black wall.
Yeah. They shouldn't be talking mean about the next president of the United States. That kind of meanness should no longer be tolerated.
I know you got to. Sure. So let me say what I want to say. Okay. AOC. What are we talking about? Joy. What are these people saying about Joy? AOC's eyes were bugged out. She was screaming with the spit flying out of her mouth, and she called the president by his first name.
So, I can too. Joe.
No, Don. She called him Don.
Oh, Don. Okay, Don. Joe. Barack. Jimmy. So what? So you call the president by the first name. The president is no different than you or I.
It's disrespectful.
Oh, come on, man. Of all the things that she could have called him, calling him simply by his first name, I think that shows a great deal of respect.
Killer Kamala?
All right. Sounds like a Boy George song. 11:48 at WNBF. Hi, Oh, hang on. Wait. Paul from Binghamton, you're on.
Hi, Bob. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. What's on your mind?
I just got some general comments. Andrew Cuomo was nothing more than a pompous, and you can put your own adjective after it. Initially, it started out like he was handling COVID in very professional, very informative. Couldn't find anything that he wasn't telling the people about. But what was absolutely, in my opinion, detestable is he made president at that time jump through so many hoops. Hey, I need a hospital ship. I need the Javits Center staff, with all sorts of beds and supplies, et cetera, And then, to my knowledge, he never even used it. So my point is, why do that other than, hey, I'm going to make this guy jump through a bunch of hoops just because I can?
Well, I'm not sure of all the details. I remember, of course, generally what happened there, but I don't know. I really don't know if when it was requested, if Governor Cuomo thought that there was a desperate need for it. I don't know all the particulars, but you're right. For the federal government to have accommodated New York State that way, and then for that not to have been used was it feels deplorable.
Yeah, and then the flip side is then he again, what you read and what's told to you, he placed the COVID patients in nursing homes. I mean, when you had that available, and they were talking about quarantines and all kinds of things like that. Gee, to me, it sounds like this is where those individuals should have been. No, instead, it's like we'll put them here and we'll risk risk contaminating, for lack of a better word, everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. I really wish I knew the real story on everything that happened. But you're right. There were times, especially early during the pandemic, there were times where it seemed to me Andrew Cuomo was working to do the right thing, especially in a situation where I submit to you, this was all new to all governors and even to a lot of health professionals. I don't think anybody knew exactly how the government or anyone else should respond to what was unfolding in early 2020.
No question.
Yeah. So, I still respect him. Even after a lot of the other stuff happened, I still think he was trying to do the right thing. But I also think along the way, as the cliche goes, mistakes were made, and I don't know the whole truth. I know that Andrew Cuomo still has strong defenders for the decisions he made during COVID. And I also know at the same time, there are a lot of people who truly believe he made many, many blunders and he took steps that should never have happened. So at this point, I wish I knew what the truth was.
Yeah, and who knows if we'll ever find out.
No, we may not.
My other comment is with the, securing a border. If someone is trespassing on your property, what do? The first thing you do is, at least the law says, you have to put up a sign that says no trespassing, because nobody knows that they're trespassing unless you have a sign up, which is
right. That's why the guy who owns Center Plaza put up signs now. It says no trespassing private property. That means next time people break in and start setting fires, he's got more of a legal position to say, hey, I put up these big signs on all sides of the building that say no trespassing and don't come in here. It doesn't actually say don't come in here and set fires, but he had to put up those no trespassing signs just like they do on the parking garages. The city of Binghamton had to put up no trespassing signs on the parking garages. If you don't belong here, you can't be here.
Right. Now, the flip side of that is, if I remember correctly, the way the law reads is it'll say, even though that person knows they had no right to be where they are. So in other words, if you're trespassing, even though there's no sign, well, you're not supposed to be in that building. Like it's understood. You're not supposed to be there while you're there. So to me, that's just like a double negative.
Yeah.
Now, with regard, again, to the border. So if signs aren't working, what do? You put up a fence of some kind. You do that on your own personal property. Heck, they did that at the White House. They put a fence around the White House. For me, that's common sense. If you can't stop these individuals from going on your property, you put up a fence, something to deter them or stop them from going on your property. And I'm a believer in a secure border and a fence. I mean, I think the news I just heard said there was 32,000 adolescents that came across the border and they have no idea where they are. Well, that's the other thing. How could they even let an adolescent across if there's no parent or custodial person in charge of them? I just think that's wild. I don't get that. Now, the other thing is, my uncle told me this back in the 70s. My uncle didn't say much. He was a quiet guy. He read a lot. He was a professional. And he said, you know what, Paul? Democrats or Republicans, they're mostly the same. He goes, the Democrats are, a lot more forgiving and understanding on the social end. They're not so good with the foreign relations.
Hey, we're running out of time. I'm sorry, we're out of time for today.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for calling.
Oh, you're welcome.
And that is all the time we have for today. But don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow morning. This is Bob Joseph, Binghamton Now on News Radio, WNBF.